Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Brighton review is the full team. AJ, how you doing, mate?
Good as gold, my friend. Good as gold.
Yeah, Drew, how you doing, mate?
Teaching people how to properly pronounce Grinder. That's how I'm doing.
Okay, that's going to bring up more questions when people off air, isn't it? And Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Teaching people that Grinder is not a dating app. Other than that, I'm stupendous.
Obviously, we are here to review Fulham's win on Saturday. Called it a Fulham win, called it a Fulham robbery. If you didn't come out of the cottage wearing a balaclava on Saturday, then I don't know what else you could have done. Absolutely stolen a victory on Saturday, haven't we? But let's talk about the game. AJ, we'll start where we always do. We had a good discussion in the match preview about squad lineups. I think we were pretty spot on in terms of the guys coming back from AFCON and what we had available to us. What did you think of the starting lineup? How do you think Marco went as strong as he probably should have done?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the starting lineup. It basically everything I screamed at the mic about last time round, about everything he got wrong in the previous fixture, he seems to have fixed up in this one. We dropped the double pivot. We put Iwobi in the midfield next to Berge. We slapped the SR back into the middle and gave Kevin and Wilson the opportunity to rotate as they felt free to. Unfortunately, they were a little bit too fluid at times, and it meant that we lacked a lot of control over the ball. But we will get into that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, right? I think that let's concentrate on the three guys coming back from AFCON. I think we said it in the pre-match that as good as Calvin Bassey has been and as close as he was to probably the best player at AFCON, I was actually happy to see him not start because I think Koenka's been superb since he's been off, so he fully deserved to sort of keep his spot there. Um, and then you look at Iwobi's come back in, not really too shocking considering that the news came out that we obviously have lost we've lost Sasha Lukic through hamstring injuries, probably going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks. So it's no shock to see him come in. I was actually happy to see him come back in the centre of the pitch. And then Chukwueze obviously came on as a sub, so that is what that is. He will talk about him because he came on and did quite well. Drew, the game on Saturday was really messy, right? We started off actually. I thought the first 20 minutes we were really good, right? We were passing the ball well, and we had some good movement. Brighton had one attack, and suddenly we stopped being able to pass. I don't know from your point of view, but are people being too aggressive and moaning about the passing on Saturday, or was it really just as poor as it actually looked like it was?
The goal they scored, I mean, I was not complimentary about Leno at that point. It was a shot from nowhere, and he got both hands to it, and it just went straight through him. For me, it was our midfield. We lost it in midfield. Belieber. Everywhere I turned, I saw him. Everywhere, he was immense. He was absolutely immense. Yeah, it was Brighton's first attack, but I didn't think. I thought it was relatively even. I didn't think we were really all over them. But once they scored, well, it just. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Whether it was a case of us not reacting well, it was a case of them getting a grip of midfield. Belieber was dropping a 10 out of 10 performance at the time, and you can see why. He's linked. I think it's with Man United. I mean, we just couldn't cope with his athleticism. We couldn't get past him. I mean, Brighton looked really, really good, really, really good. And they got through a few times, but yeah, we didn't cope well with going behind. We really didn't. and I was I think everyone in the ground was concerned because I mean, I didn't see the last 15 minutes coming.
Yeah.
Didn't see the last 15 minutes coming, if I'm going to be really honest. That's the best Brighton I've seen play for a long time at the Cottage. Really, I thought they looked really well, and obviously it was around their star man in midfield. But yeah, we just didn't look at it. I wouldn't say. I mean, we talk about that Villa game from a couple of seasons ago when we missed the penalty. Do you remember that? And then we just fell apart. I'm not sure if it was like that, but something wasn't right. We just looked leggy. We looked tired. We didn't basic passes seem to elude us. You know, we just didn't play well. We just didn't play well. But it is what it is.
Well, for me, there was 3 positions where we really, really struggled the whole game, right? Both our fullbacks. I thought Anthony Robinson probably had one of the worst games he's ever had in the Fulham shirt. The only saving grace for him is he's defending Matoma, who is arguably one of the best wingers in the league. And I think he showed that on Saturday, just why he's rated as highly as he is. He was brilliant. Castagna had a mare. Every pass he could misplace, he did. He lost his positioning loads of times. He gave them way too much space behind him, and he was being beaten almost every single time the ball was going sort of over him. And I thought Sander Berg was really poor. The news has come out obviously since that Sander Berg was ill prior to the game, so I'm probably going to give him a little bit of slack because of that. But I was really unimpressed with his game on Saturday. He seemed to sort of be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It was really hard to watch him constantly be just walked through and then not be in position for receiving the ball, and we just looked like we were being overrun in the centre of the park, mainly because it didn't look like we had no one in the centre of the park, and it was really frustrating to watch. Mozza, the first half obviously ends, we're going 1-0 down. There's a real concern at half-time there that Brighton are gonna come back out and just absolutely steamroll us, right? Because the way the game was going was they were building in confidence, they were getting better and better, and we just looked like we were shrinking.
Yeah, got to be honest, mate. At half time, I was considering breaking my cardinal rule of just not watching the rest of the game. But hopefully that day will never come anyway. And this is an example of it because you can see your team win. This is why you don't leave 5-10 minutes before the end of the game in the stadium if you are there. But yeah, I've got to agree with what Drew was just saying. I could not anticipate the last 15 minutes. I don't think anyone could. I couldn't anticipate. It was like a complete switch. I think we had moments where we still struggled in there, and I think we'll come to talk about the changes that were made on the left-hand side with Sessegnon and Chukwueze coming on. I mean, that was the difference, and I was surprised. Was it about 58 minutes? I think Marco made those changes, which is about, for the sake of argument, 10 minutes earlier than he typically does make his second half classic substitutions. That things are different, or the way that people have completely different views. What you said about Robinson and Castagna, I don't think Castagna had a world-class game, but I thought he was great compared to Robinson. I thought Robinson had a turk, and we're talking about. I don't think Robinson is still fit personally. For me, he seems to lack the pace that he had before his injury. Maybe has he come back too early? I don't know. Who knows? I just don't want him to, worsen the ailment that he had. But Castagna had a goal line clearance, didn't he, as well? I actually thought he battled Mitoma better than Robinson personally. But anyway, But there we go. The world would be boring if we all like the same things. Yeah. What else can we say about the second half? I don't know what we're going to mention next, but hopefully I've segued with the subs there. God bless Chukwueze coming back is all. I'll finish with that.
Yeah, actually, that was exactly where we were going to lead to, and it was going to be my question to AJ about the subs that were made. Obviously, we've had a few episodes of this show where we've really moaned about subs that Marco's made. I think the sub of Chukwueze coming on, the sub of Cess coming on, made us a little bit reassured at the back, gave us a bit more pace at the front. Chuck comes on, and him and Wilson immediately swap positions, which I think helped an awful lot with us pushing forward. Let's talk about the goal, though, mainly AJ, the equalising goal. Superb bit of play by Anderson. This is the sort of passing that we brought him back for, because he can make passes like this. Brilliant bit of speed by Chuck to get in front of his defender, and a brilliant finish.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Anderson was watching Dunk from the first half, because it was identical to the one that set them through 1-on-1 with Leno, that I believe he himself got back for and did very well, or Leno made a great save. I can't remember specifically which, but it was almost an identical pass, and it was beautifully executed by Chukwueze, who drifted onto it, took a great touch, and then just set himself onto his left foot. Couldn't really ask for more from Chukwueze on his return, and he was doing what Kevin slightly lacked in the first half, which was when Wilson went to the left-hand side of the pitch, he was willingly going to the opposite side. Where we were falling short in the first half is when Wilson came through into the middle or onto the left-hand side of the pitch, Kevin was still hugging the left-hand touchline, leaving a huge gap on the right-hand side, but also leaving us structurally weak in the middle, which just made the whole thing a bit of a calamity. But Chukwueze, what a beautiful goal, and what a beautiful pass, as you said, by Anderson. And as you rightly put, it's exactly why we brought him back, to have that deep ball-eyeing player, that quarterback, centre-back, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's a good bit of play. What then follows is a terrible bit of play in which we get away with murder. The defending for the lead up to the second goal that Brighton scored that was put off, was obviously offside, was shocking. 4 or 5 times a player standing still, standing at his player's feet, not just letting himself be run at, would have stopped them even getting to the halfway line, let alone being able to make the pass that then goes through to Danny Welbeck, who is marginally offside. He's not a Florian Wirtz offside, and that's for sure. This 5 centimeter leeway suddenly disappeared again because it wasn't Liverpool playing against Fulham. If you're a Brighton fan, you're going to be annoyed about that. If you're a Fulham fan, you look at the amount of times we've been absolutely screwed over this year, and you're happy to see it not given. But it was a very close call that arguably brings up more questions about VAR and offsides than it probably needs to. I think this is where we have to just chalk it up to. We probably got away with one. It's one of those ones that it's very fine margins, and we can probably host ourselves lucky, but only if you're going off of the fact that this 5 centimeter rule that was existed 2 weeks ago when we played Liverpool's there. It's just frustrating to see it. Inconsistency within the league and refereeing yet again. It's frustrating. Drew, what was your view of that, mate? You probably had a slightly better view of the line than I did.
It was happening right in front of me. I was screaming for Stefan Johansson, because if we'd have had Steph Joe in our midfield, their ball carrier would have been taken down. It was so obvious. It was so obvious, and this is why sometimes we're too nice about things. Sometimes you just we need to practice the dark arts more. Now you say we got away with one. I think we got away with a hell of a lot. I think we pretty much used up all of our luck that we'd been missing against Chelsea, against Man U, and it all came home to roost in that game, because there was no way There's no way we should have won that game on balance on the performances. But we were saved by VAR. But it should, like you say, it should never have got that far. I would have quite happily taken a cynical yellow then. But none of our team who was covering the attack, and I appreciate covering's doing a hell of a lot of heavy lifting there, but none of our team that were tracking back, it didn't seem to occur to any of them just to take the Brighton players' legs. Now, I'm not saying I wanted him injured, but what I'm saying is that attack needed to be stopped, and we just seemed to be completely naive. It was like AJ was talking about the ball from Anderson. When I saw that come, because that happened in front of me, because Chuck was on my side, I was 90% sure he was going to score. You could just feel it. You know, when you sense the game. And when Brighton broke like they did, it was screamingly obvious that we were incredibly vulnerable. And I mean, Ash, do you remember we talked about the Everton game where we didn't sense danger, and the Everton goal where Anderson was surrounded by about 5 Everton players? And like, no one seemed to pick up the fact of where the Everton attackers were. I don't know what it is about some of our players. There just seems to be this naivety at times. And you're quite right. I mean, if it hadn't been for the inconsistencies of VAR, quite frankly, Brighton would have gone 2-1 up. And you have to say, on balance, deservedly so, because they were the better team.
Yeah, it is simple as that, isn't it? Like, VAR, we got away with VAR, but it should never have got to the point where Danny Welbeck's put the ball in the back of the net in the first place. I looked at back of it twice. 4 Fulham players could have taken a cynical yellow card before he even got to the halfway line and just all backed out of a challenge because they didn't want to.
But Ash, am I right in thinking, did it look like any of them, it even occurred to any of them? Because it didn't from where I was sitting on the halfway line.
No,
what it looked like to me, what it looked like to me is Chukwueze ran towards him like he was going to do something and then backed off and thought, all right, I'm probably not going to take the cynical here. It's like they were all leaving it for somebody else to make that cynical challenge. And this is where you need to have at least one. I'll tell you what, if Sasha Lukic was on the pitch, he would just taken the yellow card there. But the problem is Sasha Lukic would have already been on a yellow card there. So like, it's one of those things that like you need to just practice a bit of the dark arts, as you say, and just have a bit of ounce about you and just know that giving away a free kick on the halfway line is better than Danny Welbeck being put through 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper. Because you can't give a striker of his quality an opportunity like that. So we get away one. Then, before we talk about obviously the ending of the game and fantastic finish, as annoyed as I was with Bernd Leno for the goal that they scored that goes straight through his Poppadom wrists, the save from that Danny Welbeck header near the end is absolutely superb. Point blank header, probably should have scored. Brilliant save by Leno. So he sort of makes up a bit there for the goal that he conceded. But we have to talk about the free kick. Brilliant bit of play by Josh King to sort of entice his defender in. The funny thing was, when the free kick was given, I turned around and said to my cousin who was sitting next to me, this has got more chance of being passed back to Bernd Leno than it does us scoring from it. We haven't scored a goal from an attacking free kick that wasn't because of a goalkeeper's like misjudged a bounce in forever. But I don't even remember the last time we had someone step up to take a free kick and actively score it in anger.
Ross McCormack is the last person I can think of.
Yeah, it's been an awful long time, and I am absolutely pleasured to see it, and it's that man yet again. Mr. Clutch, Harry Wilson, steps up and scores an absolutely fantastic free kick. Probably a bit poor goalkeeping from the Brighton goalkeeper, to be fair, because I thought he probably should have got more of a solid hand to it than he did. But, I'll take it. We'll take it. We walk away with a victory, fully undeserved. If I'm a Brighton fan, I'm absolutely astonished that they haven't walked away with 3 points, let alone 1 point from that game, because we did not deserve it at all. They were the better team for 80, 85 minutes of the game. We just had 2 bits of quality, and that's it. But I will add, it makes a nice change to be talking about a Fulham game for once, where we play poorly and get a victory, than when we play absolutely brilliantly and get spanked at the last second through something. So it makes a nice change. Hopefully, it gives us a bit more leeway to look upwards, because we're currently sat 4 points in the Champions League spots. And saying that when a month ago we were saying we're 4 points from relegation is mental. And so hope it just continues for as long as it can do. Lads, let's finish this one how we always do. Man in the match, honourable mentions. It's good. Kind of a difficult one, I think, actually, for this game. But Drew, I'll start with you, mate. Can I get your honourable mentions and a man in the match for the game, please?
Honourable mentions. I thought Anderson did well. Especially as you've already highlighted, we had problems at both fullback spots. Mozza's quite rightly identified Jedi might not be fully fit. And Timmy wasn't great, but he saved us with his header off the line. Midfield, not really much to say. I didn't think ESR had a bad game. I just don't think the midfield as a whole coped with the athleticism of Belieber. King and Chuck obviously made big impacts when they came off the bench. King because he was prepared to run at people, and Chuck because obviously he can go past a man. But I'm going to give it to Harry, not because he was scintillating throughout the game, but because in the big moment he came up for us again. And if you take his goals away from Fulham and you work out how many points he's actually been worth to us, we definitely would be 4 points off the bottom, Ash.
No, we'd be in the relegation zone.
Yeah, we would be the best player on the field was Belieber, but in terms of a Fulham player, I'll give it to Harry. But as you quite rightly pointed out, we stole it, and some of the performances highlighted deeper issues we've got with the squad.
Yeah, 100%. AJ, how about yourself, mate? Players, honourable mentions and your man of the match, please.
I'll give an honourable mention to Leno. He made a mistake with the first goal, granted, but after that, he made a couple of very clutch saves at the right times, and he's been in better form of late. Can't stop a long shot still, but that's always been a weakness in his game, so why expect that to change now? Iwobi did okay considering he came back from AFCON and straight into the fold again, and we're playing in a slightly different manner than we had prior to his departure for AFCON. Honourable mentions to both the substitutes in Chukwueze and King. I think they did exceptionally when they came on the pitch. Honourable mention to Wilson for his goal. It wasn't his best performance by a long stretch, but he still come up with the goods. But my man of the match has to go to Anderson. If it wasn't for him at a couple of crucial moments, that game could have been 4 or 5 to Brighton, probably in the first half. So I have to give it to him.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout, to be absolutely honest with you. Mozza, how about yourself, mate? Honourable mentions and the man of the match, please.
Yeah, my honourable mentions. I don't think I'm going to name anyone that hasn't already been mentioned. Anderson and Cuenca, I thought they absolutely ruled it at the back, held it up. I've got not really anything to say about the midfield other than I also thought ESR didn't have a bad performance like Drew mentioned. Jimenez being a playmaker as usual, brilliant. So my second place goes to Harry Wilson for getting that free kick and saving us once again. Not the greatest game that he's ever had, but yeah, still getting us all 3 points, and luckily so. I thought that was absolutely world class. The free kick, to be honest. Yes, their keeper could have possibly done a bit better, but I've already said the man's name. My man of the match is Chukwueze. And despite this being his first game back from AFCON, even before he left for that tournament, to me, he comes across as a player that like he wants to win. Like he is get up and go, and I feel like that is something that we're missing in our squad. I think for whatever rhyme or reason, there's a lot of like an awful lot of like lackadaisical vibe to us where we sit back, we like you know back past Leno, like you said, Ash, like all the time. Back passing, not attacking, not pressing, not pressuring. And I can't remember what the most recent game was, but I think we equalised with whoever we were playing, and Chukwueze went and grabbed the ball out of the goal, rushed back to the centre, and was like, come on, let's go again, let's go. And I think we've been badly missing that for a long time at Fulham. And I think, he's going to continue to do that for us. So there we go. Chukwueze, my player of the match.
Yeah, I think everyone's fair shouts there from everyone that's been said. I will add with Chukwueze, we had a conversation about him pre-game that we were slightly concerned about where his head might be because of the stick that he's been getting from Nigerian fans about the way that the AFCON ended. It's good to see he's come back. Clearly, heads in the game to perform for Fulham. And you're absolutely correct with the get up and go to one. Like he's a winner and he wants to stay winning. The first sort of game we saw that was the Man City game when we 3-1 down. He gets 4-1 down. He gets one, and he's immediately pushing the lads to look. Let's at least try do something here. And I think that was proven again on Saturday. He did play really, really well. But I agree with all of you. Man of the match for me is Anderson. I thought he controlled an awful lot of ball coming through to him because the midfield was almost non-existent during the game. And he did really, really well to manage that situation. And quite frankly, the pass through to Chukwueze for the equaliser is naughty. It's disgusting. Very poorly defended by Brighton, yes, but very well taken by him. And because of that alone, we have to give it to them. Lads, thank you so much for joining me on this match review. A really odd one because we can moan about a performance but be really happy with a result. And we don't really have these very often. It's usually the odd way around for us, isn't it? So we will take it. We'll be back Friday with our Man United preview. Obviously, we're off to Old Trafford on Sunday. Difficult game for the Whites with United probably in some confidence to their last couple of performances, especially a big one against Arsenal over the weekend. We'll be joined briefly by our friends over at United Football and More. They're going to give us their players to watch, as we always do in this game. They're not going to come join us like they have done in the last couple of episodes as full-on guests, but they are going to have a quick cameo in to join us for that one. So come join us for that and see what they've got to say about Fulham from the outside. Lads, hope you all enjoy your week. Have good ones. See you on Friday for the United preview. Not really much more to say other than come on, you Whites.